Hello everyone, Twilight European Network and my guest, Marty Brennan, International Community Program. Today we want to show you some fantastic, I think so, little bit warm. We can move from the winter, yeah, for a nice place. First have a look and then we go a chat. Isn't it? Wow.
Wonderful, wonderful city. And in fact, we're very fortunate. We have a charter friendship agreement with Tisnes as well. And that came through the Moroccan ambassador. And we've been working closely with them since then. And as you say, it's like a different spin on what we're normally doing, because here we are now.
Different energy, completely.
Exactly. We're now into North Africa. And again, it opens up a lot of cultural things that we can look at. It also looks that we can look at different heritage, because one of the things we discovered when we were over there was the Moroccan music. And when you play it, the actual beats are very similar to Irish traditional music. And in fact, one of the times I was there, they had a particular drum, the very same design as a bodhrán, but they played it this way, and we turned it on its side and we played it that way, and it was just to show them the different, same instrument, but played differently.
I think so. About the music you can talk more than, yes. That's fantastic. Actually, like for me, it's brilliant. And especially like another material is Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil. Now, we've been very fortunate because I've been working with São Paulo since going back to about 2012, and one of the things that we've been asked to do was to go to play there. Unfortunately, we never got around to doing that. And Esther, who has been a great help to us, she works with the Iguara tribe, and one of the things in Brazil is there's different styles of music. And the video you're going to see now is an explanation on the guitar style and the beats. It's in Portuguese and it's also in English.
Okay, we move to Brazil now.
Olá, meu nome é Daniel Ruberti, essa é Marília Cruz e nós vamos explicar um pouco para vocês sobre a origem e a cultura do forró no Brasil.
Hello, we are Daniel and Marilia, and we're going to explain the traditional forró in Brazil.
O nome forró vem do termo forrobodó. É um ritmo tradicional nas festas populares em Pernambuco no século XIX.
Forró is derived from the term forrobodó, which is a traditional rhythm in the popular parties in Brazil, in Pernambuco, from the 19th century.
O forró é uma mistura de ritmos trazidas pelos escravos que vinham para o Rio de Janeiro, no Brasil, e eram enviados para a região do Nordeste brasileiro.
Forró is a mixture of rhythms that is originated from the slaves that came to Rio de Janeiro and were sent to Pernambuco.
Com o passar do tempo, o estilo musical forró se espalhou por todo o território brasileiro, se tornando um patrimônio cultural imaterial do Brasil.
Throughout the years, forró became a really known rhythm throughout the country, and it became an intangible heritage for the country.
As letras contam a história do povo do Nordeste.
The lyrics tell the stories about the people in the northeast of Brazil.
Falam sobre a cultura nordestina e o cotidiano das pessoas.
The northeast culture, the drought, and the people are some of the themes about in this lyrics.
Falam sobre a tristeza.
They talk about sadness.
Falam sobre a fome.
They talk about being hungry.
Falam sobre o sofrimento e a seca.
They talk about sorrow and drought.
Falam também da saudade da terra natal.
They also talk about missing their origins.
Muitas famílias migram do Nordeste, do sertão, por causa da seca, da falta de alimento e vão para outras regiões e contam a história nas letras do forró.
Many people immigrate from the northeast of Brazil to other regions due to drought and the difficult situations they pass through there. So they talk about, and they show about all these difficulties in the lyrics.
Apesar de ser uma música que muitas vezes fala de tristeza, né, e de dor, é uma música que mostra no seu ritmo muita alegria.
Although the songs talk about sorrow and sadness, the rhythm is really happy and up.
Eu vou mostrar para vocês um trecho de uma música que fala sobre a seca no sertão.
We're going to show part of a song that talks about the drought in the desert of the northeast of Brazil.
Quando olhei a terra ardendo com a fogueira de São João, eu perguntei a Deus do céu, ai, por que tamanha judiação? Eu perguntei a Deus do céu, ai, por que tamanha judiação? Essa música fala sobre o nordestino que sai do Nordeste por causa da seca.
The song's about the northeast people that go to other sides of the countries because of the drought.
Ao mesmo tempo que o tema é triste, você tem um ritmo alegre e dançante.
Although the song, the lyrics talk about something which is really sad, you have a really up rhythm which you can't stand still.
Ao meu ver, essa é uma das grandes riquezas do povo brasileiro.
In my opinion, in our opinion actually, this is one of the greatest richness we have in our country.
O forró é um estilo musical muito dançante.
Forró is a rhythm, is a musical genre which is really dancing.
E feito para dançar em casais.
And it's made to dance with another person in couples.
Nós temos o forró mais agitado, que chamamos de baião.
We have a really up forró, which is called baião.
E temos um forró mais lento, que chamamos de shot.
And we have a more kind and slow forró, which is called shot.
Eu vou tocar baião.
All right, we are going to play a baião.
Fumo de rola, reio de canga, eu tenho pra vender quem quer comprar. Bolo de milho, broa e cocada, eu tenho pra vender quem quer comprar. Pede moleque, alegre e canela, moleque sai daqui, me deixa trabalhar. Isa saiu correndo pra feira de pássaros e foi passando o ano pra todo lugar. Mas aqui tem uma vendinha no canto da rua, onde o lugareiro ia se animar, tomar uma micada com lambu assado e olhar pra Maria do Juá. E agora eu vou tocar shot para vocês sentirem a diferença.
Now we're going to play a shot for you to perceive the difference.
Pra todo mundo eu dou psiu, perguntando por meu bem. Eu tenho um coração vazio, vivo assim a da psiu, sabia, vem cá também. Tu que voa pelo mundo, tu que muito já voou, tu que canta passarinho, alivia minha dor. Tem pena, Deus, diz por favor. Tu que voa pelo mundo, alivia minha dor. As duas músicas falam sobre o cotidiano do homem nordestino.
Both lyrics are about the people in the northeast of Brazil.
Nós podemos notar uma influência muito grande da música europeia em cima das harmonias do forró e do baião.
We can notice a really strong influence from the European rhythms in the rhythms of Brazil, such as forró, baião, and shot.
Por exemplo,
For example,
nós temos esse tipo de sonoridade que é muito comum nas obras do Bach.
so we have this type of sound, this type of chord, which is really common in pieces of Bach.
Agora eu vou dar um exemplo de uma música tradicional, de forró tradicional.
And now I'm going to show you a traditional forró with this type of sound, of chords.
E de uma coisa fique certa, amor, a porta vai estar sempre aberta, amor. O meu olhar vai dar uma festa, amor, na hora que você chegar. E de uma coisa fique certa, amor, a porta vai estar sempre aberta, amor. O meu olhar vai dar uma festa, amor, na hora que você chegar. Nós temos a mesma sequência de acordes, mas com um ritmo diferente.
We have the same chord sequence, but the rhythm is a bit different.
É uma mistura muito rica do ritmo dos povos africanos com a música europeia e com o cotidiano da vida do homem do sertão nordestino.
That's a really rich mixture of the African rhythms, the European music, and also the Northeast of Brazil, stories and way of life.
Tradicionalmente, o forró tem como instrumentos na sua composição a zabumba, o triângulo e a sanfona.
Traditionally, forró is composed with the instruments zabumba, accordion, and triângulo, which is the triangle.
Yeah. Em 1940, o forró ganhou muita expressão no Brasil através de Luiz Gonzaga, que foi o primeiro artista a levar o forró para as rádios e para as emissoras de TV.
Luiz Gonzaga was the first artist to show the forró rhythm in songs and productions in TVs and radios, transforming forró into a really well-known rhythm in Brazil.
Isso aconteceu em 1940.
And this happened in 1940.
Yeah. Em 1975, nós tivemos uma segunda fase do forró no Brasil.
In 1975, there was a second phase, a second step of forró in Brazil.
Artistas muito conhecidos no Brasil, como Luiz Gonzaga, Elba Ramalho, Geraldo Azevedo, Zé Ramalho, trouxeram o forró de uma maneira mais moderna.
Great artists in Brazil, such as Luiz Gonzaga, Zé Ramalho, Elba Ramalho, and so on, scattered forró throughout the regions of Brazil, but with a different taste, with a different rhythm, with a more contemporary approach.
Foi uma época em que o rock progressivo teve uma grande influência também na música brasileira. Era uma época onde essa mistura começava a aparecer em vários ritmos brasileiros.
One of the greatest influences in the Brazilian music in that period of time was the progressive rock. So we had the different types of genres, music genres and rhythms, using aspects from the progressive rock in their compositions.
Novos instrumentos também foram agregados, né, às composições. Começaram a se usar bateria, guitarra, contrabaixo, teclados, que eram instrumentos utilizados nas bandas de rock progressivo.
New types of instruments were also added to this whole mixture. For example, the drums, the guitars, the electric guitars, bass, and so on. So we had a great mixture in Brazil's rhythms.
Depois dos anos 90, o forró acabou se tornando muito, muito popular e começaram a misturar ele com música eletrônica, começou a aparecer o forró eletrônico, o forró misturado com música sertaneja. O forró se tornou um tempero para praticamente todos os estilos musicais. Algumas bandas começaram a misturar rock mais pesado com forró.
From the 90s on, forró became one of the greatest popular rhythms in Brazil, and therefore you had many mixtures with electronic music, with country music. So forró became a part, not only a rhythm separated, but a part of many types of rhythms and music genres and styles.
As letras também deixaram de ser particularmente voltadas ao cotidiano do nordestino, a seca, a fome, a saudade, a tristeza, e passaram a falar de tudo que você pode colocar numa letra musical. E o humor dentro das letras se tornou muito presente, né? Combinando mais com o ritmo alegre, claro.
So from that on, you had another themes shown in the lyrics. So you had more humor, you had more happiness. So forró lyrics started talking about anything and everything.
Hoje, nós, eu, Daniel e Marília, fazemos parte da banda Calango Brabo, aonde nós misturamos hard rock com forró, com baião, e é um estilo totalmente diferente, porém muito rico, né? E abre espaço para a gente brincar muito com a música brasileira e poder misturar a música brasileira, né, o forró, com a música internacional, que a gente também gosta muito.
Today, we are part of a band which is called Calango Brabo, and it is a mixture of hard rock, baião, forró, and etc. So this is an opportunity for us to mix all things together and to show our culture, our Brazilian culture, to the outside world.
Um grande abraço para vocês e espero que vocês tenham gostado bastante, ouçam bastante forró, ouçam bastante baião e ouçam Calango Brabo, essa mistura maravilhosa de ritmos. Muito obrigado.
We're really glad to be here. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you listen to baião, to forró, to shoti a lot, and hope you enjoy it. So thank you very much.
Eu vou tocar um forró moderno.
We are going to play a modern forró.
By Calango Brabo.
Abre a tua porta, janela, arruma um espaço, respira bem forte. Facilita, deixa o sol entrar. Não corre atrás de ninguém, nem se passar de morto. Abra a mão, dá um abraço. Deixa a felicidade vir e te encontrar. Eu vou falar dessa coisa tão linda que veio, ficou na minha vida e se pôs à vontade. Muito mais que a verdade. Nome dela é bonito, muito mais que Maria. Nome dela é amizade, então vem da mão. Vamos lá pra varanda, vamos brincar de roda. Vou cantar uma ciranda. Boi, 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 boi da cara preta. Pega essa menina, pega pela mão. Mas muito cuidado, não vai deixar cair. Vai mostrar pra ela a porta do meu coração. Boi, 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 boi da cara preta. Pega essa menina, pega pela mão. Mas muito cuidado, não vai deixar cair. E vai mostrar pra ela a porta do meu coração.
This is a community sewing project. The idea came to me when the pandemic started, and then I saw that there was shortage of masks, and the masks were to be imported from China, from other countries. And then I started thinking, why can't people make just simple things like masks within? And then I decided to come up with the idea that, okay, why can't I look for ways to get machines and train the local community to give them skills of using machines to sew dress, to sew simple things like masks and so on. That's all how the idea came about. And then good enough, it was Kilkenny Leader Partnership that approved something little towards the pilot project. We started actually in August with 10 participants, and then we had only 2 new machines, and the rest were old ones, which caused a lot of trouble when people were learning it. So good enough, Kilkenny County Council gave us some funding, which made me able to buy more new machines. Now you can see the participants are now using all new machines. These are brand new machines purchased with the use of the funding approved by Kilkenny County Council.
This is our 3rd week of participating in this dressmaking class, and I'm so glad to be here because it's something that I've wanted for a long time to do. However, it's very difficult to find sewing classes in Kilkenny. So when I heard that the South Sudanese community, they had the dressmaking workshop, I kind of jumped on the opportunity because it's just a great skill to have, and hopefully, because in this class we are we are starting from the basics, and then hopefully we'll work our way up, and I kind of like in the future, I hope to kind of have a shop, an online shop where I can sell stuff that I make. So anyway, that's my plan so far, but for the time being, I just want to get all the basic skills that I need.
I think this is a great idea. If the participants can put all their interest, their effort, I'm sure they will gain the necessary skills of making different type of dress, and hopefully the project may roll into social enterprise one time, or even the participants, some of them can create a job for themselves by establishing their own stadium and begin to sew clothes for sale. Yeah.
International Community Program. It's like a brilliant program. It's not only about the young people, about the sports, about what we're doing, but also it's very interesting because it's like a program and projects for seniors.
Yeah, I think seniors is very dear to our heart here in the Twilight Community Group. So when we were putting together this program, we would specifically went and asked could we speak to representatives from each community. And this piece is a very interesting piece done by Samuel Morgan, who is the General Secretary of the South Sudanese Group of Ireland. And he'll be talking about how our seniors are looked after in South Sudan.
Before we have a look for that material, it's like from my opinion, it's a great, like we don't forget about the seniors because they are very important in our life.
They are, I mean, like you've got to look at it, even if we look at it from an Irish point of view, they're the people who have given this generation their education, and all across the world we'll hear our government saying that we have a very well educated students here in Ireland, and they're trying to attract business on that. But they got to remember it was the seniors who sacrificed everything so that their children could get the education that they have today. So it's very important that we never forget our seniors.
Okay, Samuel Morgan, and we have a look together.
Morning. By name, I'm Samuel Morgan. I'm from South Sudan, and I came to Ireland in July 2008. I like it because the situation that forced me to leave my country is just horrible. And I thank the government of Ireland to have brought me as program refugee, and I've now become a citizen of this country. Well, in South Sudan, as I mentioned here, South Sudan has been in a war for quite a long time, and there is no development up to this time. And things like a nursing home is not there. So what happens is our family units, we keep our family units as it is, and the grown-up people is always cared for by the children. You know, back in Africa, it's very important for you to have your own children, because when you become old, they will be the one to look after you. So we look after our parents until such a time that they live this physical life. And we try our best to keep them happy. You know, our people there, they are so active because there is nothing called social welfare. You work for yourself. You provide food for yourself, for your family. So that makes us to be strong. We work all the time. Some people don't get job, so they have to till the land, cultivate, plant crops for their food, and the surplus is taken to the market to be sold so that they can get certain things. And this makes our grown-up people, you know, you'll see that somebody between 70, 80, 85, still strong, and not even liking to sit down all the day or sleeping in bed. They want to keep themselves active, especially with their hands. You'll see that an old person tries very hard to get something to do, to keep him going. Like even the old women, even if the children say, "Mommy, look, don't do that. Leave it. We can do it for you." We'll say, "No, leave me. Let me do it." Yeah, you'll find such a woman can go behind the house into the forest around, gathering firewood and bringing it. So that keeps them very strong and happy in the family. So that's why our elders, they feel happy. Children sit around them, they tell stories. It is actually another source of history, you know. They tell what they went through. They tell all the stories to the children. And you see every time in the evening, children make a fire. They bring a chair for the elderly person like that, have him sit, and then the person will tell stories. And the children enjoy, and they learn, you know. This is how we look after our elderly people in South Sudan in particular.
Traveler community.
Yes, a very important part of Irish community. They are a separate ethnic group, okay? And actually when we look at it, you know, that group and the Roma group are the largest ethnic group across Europe, right? Now in Ireland, we have the Traveller Community, and we have a wonderful interview done by Helena Power. Now one of the aspects of this is that only 1% of the Traveller Community go on to get a degree in university, and Helena is one of those.
My name is Helena Power, and I am an Irish traveller living in Urlingford, County Kilkenny, and I'm currently working as a wellbeing and awareness worker with Kilkenny Traveller Community Movement. And I'm recording this piece for the International Communities Festival. So I suppose I'm going to talk a little bit about culture and what it means to me. And I suppose culture is such a small word with a broad meaning, and it probably means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Culture to me I suppose is particularly important, the fact that I come from a nomadic community. Irish travellers, I suppose, it was originally thought that they came from the time of the famine. That was one of the misconceptions. The first kind of written down history of travellers actually came about in 1100s, so quite early on. And I suppose when you talk about traveller culture, a lot of settled people, the first things that would come to their mind would be maybe horses or bare knuckle boxing or the usual stereotypes. But there's so much more to traveller culture, and whilst those things are important to some people, they're not what I would consider part of my culture or my heritage. And I think that there's so much more there that people don't know about, and that they can learn more about, that is a lot more interesting than the typical stereotypes. So I suppose one of the major things that people might know about travellers is that we have our own language, and that's called Gammon, Síolta or Cant, and it's a mixture, I suppose, between Irish and English. And much like the Irish language or Gaeilge, I suppose it has different parts of the country would have a different dialect. So whilst my family, I suppose, would have hailed originally from the Midlands and Longford, we'd pronounce probably different words a lot different than what maybe somebody from Cork or Kilkenny or Wexford might. And I think that that's one of the major things, although it's starting to die out. It's really, really unfortunate that it is, because the younger people, it instills a sense of identity, I suppose, within people having their own language, and I think that it's really unfortunate that it is starting to die out. And it's one of the things that I personally will try and keep going with my young child at home. And whilst I wouldn't be fluent in Gammon, I would know a good bit of it, and it's something that I'll try and instill, I suppose, in him as he's getting older. So I suppose another thing, a massive thing with travellers is religion. Most Irish travellers would be Roman Catholics and have a quite strict rules, I suppose, and follow them. But it is changing, and I suppose it's changing quite quickly with the younger people. And a lot of the younger members of the community have changed their religion to become born again Christians. So that's an interesting fact that people might know. So another thing, I suppose, is education. And education, a lot of travellers wouldn't have went on to secondary level school, and only 1% of travellers go on to third level or obtain a degree. Again, this is slowly changing, and I myself went on and I finished my Leaving Cert and I obtained a degree at third level as well. So it is changing, and I think that one of the most important things that's going to come in the next couple of years is the legislation that's currently in front of the Dáil, the bill being passed on including traveller culture and heritage in schools. So I think that that's going to be a really, really important piece that's going to be done, piece of legislation that's going to be brought forward. And I think it's important that children will be able to learn more, I suppose, about traveller culture in school, so it'll normalise it, and they'll understand that not everybody is the same and that that's okay, but there's also lots of similarities between the community, between the traveller community and the settled community, and I think that that's important, I suppose, to realise as well. So another really important aspect of traveller community, I suppose, would be sport, and a lot of the time, I suppose, the typical one that everybody would associate with travellers would be boxing. So I suppose Francie Barrett would have been the first ever traveller to represent Ireland in the Olympics, and I think that was 1996, I think. I'm not too sure. And there's lots of more, I suppose, that are after following him, following in his footsteps. So you have John Joe Nevin, you have David Joyce. I suppose one of the most influential boxers of the now time that hails from Irish traveller heritage is Tyson Fury. So I suppose he's a big name that is on everybody's lips at the minute. But there's lots of other things as well that travellers are involved with. At local levels, I suppose, there are a lot of local lads here in Kilkenny would be involved with the hurling. and with soccer and different bits like that as well. So it's nice, I suppose, for the integration to happen for that part of it as well, and it's nice. Overall, travellers' health is a lot poorer than their settled counterparts. And as a wellbeing and awareness worker, I work a lot around mental health. So unfortunately, that's one of the poorest elements of traveller health, and it's 6 to 7 times more likely as a traveller, you're more likely to commit suicide than a settled counterpart. And that was done from the 2010 All Ireland Traveller Health Study. So that's almost 12 years ago. Coming forward to now, I think that if there was a piece of research done on that now, it'd be a lot higher, which is so unfortunate. And many of our young people, I suppose, even locally, have went down the path of suicide, and it's so sad for the families that are left behind. And it's so sad that they thought that was the only way out, I suppose, for them. I think that there's lots of different reasons for the high levels of suicide, and I think that discrimination definitely is one of the major components to it. 53% of the community are young people under the age of 25 years of age, which is a massive figure. And I suppose travellers on average have a lot less life expectancy than their settled counterparts as well. So that's another aspect of their health. Horses and animals are a massive part of traveller culture, but I do think that there are lots of other parts of traveller culture that sometimes get left behind. So the singing and the dancing and the storytelling, they're all massive parts of traveller culture that sometimes aren't heard about. And if any of you have ever been at a traveller event or celebration or occasion, from a christening, I suppose, all the way through to a wake or a funeral, one of the things that you'll notice is the music, and it almost happens spontaneously. And it's from young age right up to the elderly, and I suppose traditionally it would be traditional Irish music or country and Irish or American country, but the young people are putting their own spin on it now, like everything, I suppose, and they have the influence of reggae music and stuff like that as well. So there's all different aspects to it. But I think that's one of the most important parts of traveller culture for me personally, is the singing, the storytelling, the music, the close-knitness of the families. And I think when you're talking about suicide rates as high as what they are, and about different statistics within health and stuff like that, that's one of the most important things, I think, is that the family is a real support system. And I think that's so important, because it gives travellers, I suppose, a safe place, and it gives them somewhere when they go home and close the door that they know that they're supported. And it's always nice, I suppose, for anybody to feel that they have somebody at their back and somebody to support them. So that's one of the major things about travellers, I think, that's so important to me and myself personally, is the close-knitness of the community. I suppose one of my youngest memories would have been going to my great-grandmother's house in Portlaoise, and she was a great storyteller, and she had 13 in family, and that lived, and I think there was 3 or 4 that would have passed away as well. And much like anybody, I suppose, at that time, she had a really, really tough life. And she would have lived in a tent, I suppose, and they would have travelled around in the horse-drawn wagons and stuff like that as well. And even though her stories were so full of such poverty and dire straits, and they really, really didn't have much, they seemed so happy, and the time seemed so happy for them, I suppose. And I think that's another part of traveller culture that unfortunately hasn't been allowed to progress. So the 1963 Itinerance Act unfortunately kind of put a stop to that, and travellers were deemed as a failed settled people almost, and they were pushed into cities and housing estates and houses and basically told that that's what you need to do and you need to stay there. And the Irish state, it was almost that they want to assimilate travellers into settled people, completely not taking into regard the fact that we are our own people, our own nomadic people, that we have our own culture, we have our own language, our own customs, our own heritage, and that we didn't want to be the same as everybody else. And I think that that's a really, really sad factor in traveller history, is that when that act was introduced, and then when the Trespassing Act was introduced and travellers were stopped from travelling, I think that they lost a lot of their culture, and probably some of the best parts of their culture. Again, listening to old stories, even sitting down, I suppose, by the campfire at night and listening to the songs and the tales and stuff like that, it sounds a world away, I suppose, from what I would have been used to growing up, and it's just such a pity that I missed out on that part, I suppose, of my heritage. Every summer, I suppose, I would have went out with my grandparents, and I was lucky enough that my grandparents are, and still are, thankfully, all four of them are still alive. So we would have went to horse fairs and markets all around Ireland during the summer, and even if it was just for those 2 or 3 weeks of the summer that we would have been out kind of in trailers, and as hard as it was having to survive without hair straighteners and all the rest of it, I think that I learned so much from being on the road for those couple of weeks. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of settled people don't really understand about the community, is that a lot of even friends in school and stuff would have said to me, but sure, you're not a traveller because you never travelled. You're in a house, and you know you're being brought up there, and you've never lived in a trailer. Yeah, you go out on a holiday for a couple of weeks every year, but that's it. We all do that, sure. My family does that, and we go to Kerry, and that's what we do. And I suppose that one of the major things that was so important to try and get across to people, and one of the things that I felt most importantly about would be, you don't need to travel to be a traveller. I think that, and I don't mean to sound it as a cliche, I think it's in your blood, and I don't think it doesn't matter where you come from, if you never travelled in your life or not. I think if you have that heritage and that background, I think you have that way that you want to be free, I suppose, and not free just out travelling on the road, but free in the way that you're living. And I think that that's something that really, really, I suppose, gritted on me when I was younger, was the term settled traveller. Because what is a settled traveller? A lot of my family would consider themselves, or if they were describing themselves to people, they'd say, well, I'm a traveller, but I'm a settled traveller. And even as a young person, it never fitted with me. I don't know why, but I consider myself a traveller. I don't consider myself a settled traveller, but I also consider myself Irish. I also consider myself a woman. There's lots of different parts to me, and traveller is just another part of that. So I think that that's something that I'd really love for people to try and understand a little bit more, is that there's diversity within every community, and there most certainly is within the travelling community as well. We have lots of different people within our community. We have lots of different members of the LGBTQI plus. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have a guard now, we have lots of these different people. So I suppose whilst travellers aren't what they would have been 20 years ago, I don't think any part of society is. And I think while the small minority, and it's a really, really small minority of travellers, I suppose, give sometimes other travellers a bad name. It's extremely difficult for the travellers I suppose, like me and like many other travellers, trying to progress forward in a positive way, and trying to move on through education whilst retaining our heritage and retaining our culture. A lot of the time, even with the traveller language, like I heard a couple of older people saying, we were in a room and there was a couple of older women there, and they were saying to us, there were settled people in the room as well, and we were speaking about the traveller language, and they didn't want us telling them about it. They didn't want us talking about it. And I suppose they were afraid, maybe, in one way, that if they spoke about it, that they'd know what they were saying, and there was that chance that it could be used to kind of further discriminate against us. But I just thought, and I said, without us, I suppose, explaining our culture and our heritage and doing pieces like this, and talking to people and explaining to people what exactly travellers are, what our customs are, what our traditions are, we're never going to be able to move forward. Because people are afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what they don't know. And a lot of the time as well, unfortunately, when stuff isn't written down or when it's not spoke about, it's forgotten. And I think that that's a massive issue within the community, is that if we don't start recording stuff now, or if we don't start explaining different parts of our culture to other communities and to wider society, we're going to end up losing a lot of our traditions and stuff as the older people are, unfortunately, I suppose, dying out. Like tinsmithing and making barrel top wagons and stuff like that. My grandfather hails from Banagher in County Offaly, and he is a fantastic man. He's gifted with his hands and with making kind of flats and sulkies and wagons and stuff like that. But out of 11 in his family, none of them picked it up after him, which is really unfortunate, because please God and our Blessed Lady, he lives for the next 20 to 40 years. But whenever he does pass away, that piece, I suppose, of talent that he has is going to go with him, which is very, very unfortunate, because it just means that it's one more part of traveller culture within my family personally that's going to be gone. So I do think that it is important to write down these different bits and to, I suppose, learn from our elders, because they've so much to offer us. I don't think Irish travellers get enough credit for just how resilient we are as a people. We've been pushed and pushed to the outsides of the society, and for years, and probably as long as anybody can remember. I'm a proud Irish traveller, and I'm very proud of my people, and I'm proud of the resilience and the strength that they have faced discrimination every day for probably most of their lives, and still have the strength to get up every morning and to do it all over again. So that's what I'm most proud of, I suppose, about my community, is our strength and resilience.
Very interesting. Very interesting, like for me to see from that one point of view as well. Like, do you want to say something about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, like you can see that there's little pieces there about the Traveller Pride Week that we had in Kilkenny, which coincided with the International Festival as well. And you can see that they're very proud of their language. They're very proud of their heritage. They're very proud of their own history. They're a very proud community. Okay, and we work with them here in the Twilight Community Group, and we would even hope to work closer with them again. In fact, this week we donated some iPads to them, tablets, so that will help them for further education or whatever. And we also will be running a program here in Twilight that each one of the travel community are welcome to put their names forward for. Very important. And also then there's a wonderful piece coming up then about a very proud traveller man who will tell you exactly about what he does.
I'm Martin Beans-Ward. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a human rights activist, an egalitarian, an animal lover, a walker on beacher. Yeah, I'm a traveller and I'm LGBT. We are an indigenous group of people who come from Ireland, and we are nomadic. That was our lifestyle. That's exactly how our traditions unfolded. We have our own language called Shelta, or Gammon or Cant, as the other dialects. And unfortunately in Ireland, those parts of our history have been whitewashed out of the history books. Marginalised groups tend to hold on to their traditional values a lot more because that tends to be their historic norm. That's where their culture lies. However, culture is an adaptive term. What is culture but the consensus of the community? But if the community is continually adapting and becoming different and there are new people within the community through intersectionality, well then the culture changes. And that needs to change. That needs to adapt with the times and with the people that are there. So I waited until I was at a point where I was, I suppose, secure within my career to come out. And I did it at a time that it was Pride for Galway. The media were there and they conducted an interview then after that. And I remember saying it to my friends, you know, this is why I want to do it. How do you gear this towards people who haven't come out yet? And I wanted to normalise it. I wanted to show that there is a correlation in the mentality of what I was going through, fighting for my own justice and my right to be myself. And I was making the correlation to show exactly that the travelling community have been doing that themselves to get, you know, to fight against discrimination. And I was showing them that, you know, what you really should be looking at is fighting together towards a common goal, which is to get rid of all forms of discrimination. There's a clear message of camaraderie, of fighting a fight together. And I think that's where the LGBT community need to step in, because with intersectionality, the LGBT community are the largest community across the world, I think, because we have connections to every different group, every class, every colour, every creed. We have people in all of those. Why can't we all come together and use that shared knowledge and say, you know what, through intersectionality, I know now what it's like to be Roma and LGBT. I also know what it's like to be a woman, LGBT and Roma. You know, and through that we can, I suppose, categorise where the issues lie, you know, most effective to fight towards.
Gender equality.
Yeah, gender equality is very important. We see it across all different sectors of communities and the different sectors of businesses. But it cannot be just a token gesture. But one of the programs that we'd like to show you now is actually where all the female diplomats that are now serving in Ireland came together and put together this wonderful video.
Maybe first we have a look and then we can talk about this.
Girls of Ireland and all around the world. My name is Anna and I am the ambassador of Poland to Ireland. Together with my colleagues, the other female ambassadors posted in Ireland, we wish to convey a special message to you.
Today, on 11th of October, we celebrate the International Day of the Girl.
You may not have heard about it, but we believe it is very important
to give this day the recognition it deserves.
On this occasion, we address you, our younger colleagues, our younger sisters,
to tell you this from the bottom of our hearts.
You are all unique and beautiful in your own way.
And you must try to make the best out of what life has to offer.
We, female ambassadors in Ireland,
come from different parts of the world.
From different backgrounds and have different life experiences.
But what joins us together is the fact that we all came here
to proudly represent our countries and their legacies.
For many of us, the path that led to this moment
was not always easy and posed its own problems.
So we understand that being a young girl at the beginning of your own path can be challenging,
regardless of where you come from.
But we also know that so much depends on you. So be brave.
Demand and enjoy the rights set forth in the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. They are your rights.
No one has more power to change your life than you.
We are all different, but we are all important in our own way.
Don't try pretend to be someone you're not.
Always be yourself and accept yourself the way you are.
You are the ultimate you, the ideal you, the perfect you.
Don't be afraid and believe in yourself.
Learn new things, go after your dreams.
Even make mistakes, we all do. But once you do, try to learn from them.
Do your best, be respectful towards others, but always demand respect on return.
Don't forget, The world is in your hands. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Happy Day of the Girl. My name is Riley, and I am the ambassador of Finland.
My name is Yoli Samaya, and I'm the ambassador of South Africa to Ireland.
My name is Sabine, and I'm the chargé d'affaires of Canada in Ireland.
My name is Daige Potzel, and I'm the ambassador of Germany here in Ireland.
My name is Manuela, and I am the ambassador of Romania to Ireland.
My name is Haris, and I'm the ambassador of Cyprus.
My name is Elena Sharaput, and I am chargé d'affaires of Ukraine to Ireland.
My name is Carla Serazzi, and I'm the ambassador of Chile.
My name is Katerina, and I'm the ambassador of Greece.
My name is Dr. Emenike, and I am the ambassador of Nigeria to Ireland.
My name is Gilan, and I'm the ambassador of the State of Palestine to Ireland.
My name is Eliana, and I'm the ambassador of Brazil to Ireland.
My name is Patricia, and I am the ambassador of Colombia.
My name is Gergana, and I am the ambassador of Bulgaria to Ireland.
My name is Anna, and I am the ambassador of Poland to Ireland.
Fantastic, I think so, great to see so strong and very intelligent women.
Well, Anya, I mean, like, it's something that gender shouldn't really make a difference. Your gender orientation, it shouldn't make a difference to it, because at the end of the day, we're all the same, okay? And isn't it great to see that we have Ursula von der Leyen, who's the head of the EU, and these women are very strong. Now, maybe not in your time, but if I can go back to the time when most diplomats and ambassadors were all male.
Exactly, but I think so this is still around, you know, that everything, like some part of the job, it's only for the men and the woman can't be very strong.
Yeah, I think now the time that we broke through here in Ireland was when Mary Robinson became president. And as you know, she went on to fantastic work with the UN, and a very strong lady. And she broke that glass ceiling, as we would like to call it. But when you saw what she did, she was probably one of the best presidents that we ever had. And then followed on by Mary McAleese. So there was two strong Irish women that took over the presidential job here in Ireland. And it's great to see that now we have this number of very strong females from across the world now operating in Ireland at that level of diplomats. And isn't it great, because they can inspire other young females and other young people to say, look, I can do this.
I think so this is the end of our little trip together across Europe as well. International Community Program. I hope so everyone can join and everyone can find it something for themselves.
It's very important, I mean, that we do look at all the different communities right across. We have so many now here.
Yes.
New communities from all over the world.
Lot of different programs, lot of support actually. Like everyone can find her to be like feeling like I'm at home. I have a big support. I'm not only the person from Romania, Poland, or any part of the world. Islands now, it's my home and I can get the support.
I think that's very, very important, Anya, that we make people feel that they're at home. This is their home, okay? And we have to stop using terms like the other community or them, right? And even to a term, we actually use the term international communities. And why do we use that term? Because Ireland are also international, so we're just the same as everybody else. So we're all international communities. And that's our plan, is that we want to make sure that people work together, they still remain proud of their own heritage, their own history, their own culture and their own language. But we have so much to learn from each other that if we concentrate on being just on our own, we'll never do anything. And the only way we can be successful is if we work together. And the ethos in the Twilight Community group is communities are stronger together. That's our tagline, and we really believe in that. And we're fortunate enough that we're now in the series of planning for 2022. And we hope that this International Community Festival will grow. And we have to thank the Department of Justice, Law, Equality and Children for the great support that they do give us. And we're looking forward to a very good 2022, when we hope to bring all the communities together into Kilkenny for maybe 1 or 2 days.
Do we need more people involved?
More the better, okay?
It's everyone can come in and they say, Marty, I want to work with you.
We want, the more we have, the more we can do. And that's just the way it is. We are an open, we're an inclusive society. And Twilight is an open inclusive group. And what we look at is we look at inclusion, integration and solidarity. Okay, there are three main targets that we do. There are three pillars. And that is what we want to put across into these international community festivals. The previous videos you've seen work from the Bengali group playing football together. You've seen the Polish group and they're building their murals. We've seen the Bengali or the South Sudanese and their sewing initiative. And we've heard a lot about how the seniors are treated back home. And all that is very, very important. We can learn so much from each other. Okay, so it's very important that we continue to grow this program. We continue to get more people involved. And the more is involved, the more barriers that are there that we can break down. And always remember that communities are stronger together.
Marty, maybe it's a completely different question. Why you decide to do with something like this for the different communities?
The Twilight Community Group, you see, when we began it, as everybody knows, I think at this stage, it was meant to be just a 2-hour-a-day hobby. And obviously, the way we look at things and our ethos and our constitution and the way we operate, it has attracted everybody. And in some cases, what we find is that maybe soon we might have to start saying, wait, we can't see it, because we always say yes, okay?
It was hard on the beginning.
It was hard in the beginning. We had to build up an awful lot of contacts. But I have to say that the support we get from the European Union is fantastic. The support we get from the Irish government is great. I mean, this programme, Department of Justice, do it. We have another one that's actually been broadcasted simultaneously, and that's by the Department of Foreign Affairs. And we want to build on these programmes. Our big aim and what I would call is our main objective is international cultural houses. And if we have a Twilight International Cultural House, this where you're in this studio here is the Twilight European Network studio. And what this is where all communities can come here. They can now put together a programme under the guidance of our professional engineers. And what they will do is they'll be able to put together a programme for their community, by their community. But by doing that, they're going to show their community to other communities. And then we'll have this thing where we'll have programmes that are from 2 or 3 different. It's like us. You're Polish, I'm Irish. Now we're on the one programme. Now we have to develop that ethos as well. So you'll develop an organic integration. Within a Twilight International Cultural House, and I believe these should be all over the country. We get a great response when we talk about it in Poland, and we talk about it in Germany. And then these people can come into a premises where it's safe, right? They feel secure. They can develop their own programs. They can promote their own heritage, their history, their culture. Their children can have language classes. But in the meantime, it's also opened up to the Irish community. So we'll have a library, we'll have an internet cafe, we'll have services there for people to, if they require any kind of additional work. So you arrive in Kilkenny, you're from Romania, or you're from Bosnia-Herzegovina, okay? You arrive in Kilkenny and you ask, where do I go? And the first port of call would be, call up to the International Cultural House.
Exactly, because there is the people which want to speak in your language, and they can help you with your beginning in Ireland.
And that's the idea, that we would build up this thing, but it's offered it to everybody. And I think everybody knows that we do a lot of our work in the schools, we do a lot of work with seniors, we do work with the Polish community, the Romanian, the Bengali, the South Sudanese, and we just want to continue to grow that. But I do think that the more people come involved, the bigger and better the Twilight community will become.
Hebron House, this is the place where everyone can find you, but not also you, but the people which one they are involved. How many languages operate in that place? Like some people, they will be sure, like if I'm going there, I find somebody who can help me with my own language.
When the group was set up originally back in 2014, as I say, it was supposed to be just something to develop local communities. It began to expand, and then it went into Europe. And one of the things then is that I did identify that what we should do is ensure that we have somebody from in the Culture House, either on phone, that can speak every single language, right? And that is still available. So if somebody comes in from France, we have a French teacher on the end of the phone. Okay, we can just call her and she'll take it. The same Polish, right? Romanian. Now, when you deal with some of the new communities that come from Sudan and some of the African countries, English is actually their first language, which some people don't understand. And I've often heard cases, oh, it's a pity they don't learn English. But a lot of the African countries, English is their first language, right? So that's the way we've put together the whole program. And we appointed then consultants to each group so that they would run the projects in their countries. And we want to see it expanding. Okay, we'll do that with the help of the Department of Justice, and we'll do that with the help of the Department of Foreign Affairs, but also with the European Union, the Access for Europe group, and also the Erasmus+. There's opportunities out there for students to go abroad and learn. And the idea here at the moment, this studio you're in now, this is a place where people can come and learn how to perform proper digital recording. Okay, so that is very important, because at the moment a lot of people don't understand the dangers that are in social media. So
Yes.
through the team here, they developed
Especially young people.
yeah, especially
yes.
young people. They don't realise the problems.
Teenagers, yeah.
So we developed a fantastic program here that's in this particular studio on the 7 steps of social media security. And that's to take people from young ages to tell them the dangers.
Marty, thank you very much, not only for your time, but for all your work. And I think so the big honor is like you are a honor consul to Poland. And I really appreciate I can have opportunity to work with you, to chat with you, and I hope so this is not the end of our history. That will be more and more in the future. Thank you very much for watching us, and I hope so you can follow Twilight European Network and you can see more. Thank you very much.